Hej och välkomna till dagens rapportintervju med Sensys Gatso Group. Tillsammans med mig i studion har jag Ivo Mönnink, VD på Sensys Gatso, och nu kommer jag gå över till engelska. Ivo, very welcome to our studio. Great to have you here. To start with the quarterly report on an overall perspective, how would you like to summarize the Q4? And we can get to the details later, just to be clear.
A very good Q4, a really good top line result and a bottom line result as well. Overall, the full year I think is very good for us, with a record high revenue of 624 and a very good EBITDA of 85 million. So we're extremely happy with the performance of the team of Sensys Gatso.
Excellent. If we take a little bit of a look at the bigger picture and zoom out a bit, you have now 3 years of 75 to 85 million EBITDA, 21, 22 and 23, and you have your financial targets, and in order to reach those you need to do a kind of stepwise move to get to these targets. What will be the driving force behind this to going from where we are to where we expect to be in 2025?
Well, if you look at the highest level, then I would say there is a driving force from governments globally to reduce traffic fatalities, which is one of the goals of the United Nations sustainability goals. So that's the prime driver behind why we see so much more interest in different markets across the globe. So we see it, for instance, in the Middle East, where we won large contracts, as you know, but also in Europe, and definitely also in the United States, where we now see that new states are opening up for automated speed enforcement, like Connecticut and Florida and California. So in all these markets, and also in Australia, we see large projects coming to the market and hopefully also coming to us. So those are the drivers.
Just reflection, these 3 states you mentioned, they are quite well populated, to say the very least. So that seems like an interesting opportunity.
Absolutely.
But again, coming back to the behind the government kind of initiatives, which areas do you see being the drivers behind this growth that you're envisaging?
Okay, so if you look in Europe, we recently won the Swedish government contract of 850 million. We won a Dutch contract of 400 million. So that's in total 1.25 billion of contract value. 1.2 billion of that is in the backlog. So we only executed a very small part of it. So that's an important driver. Then looking at the United States, we have a new sales team there, a lot of activity, a lot of demand from the different states in the US, bigger than ever. And only in the last 14 months we signed 13 contracts. So we definitely see a lot of momentum going on in the United States. So those are 2 important drivers. How to get to the ambition. Another one is the Middle East. Not only Dubai, the Emirates, but also in Saudi Arabia. More and more interest. We have delivered now 1 million in-vehicle systems to Saudi Arabia. They need maintenance, so we're talking about how to do that. So that means an SLA for the maintenance. But we're also talking about maybe introducing new automated traffic enforcement solutions in that market, because we are now a supplier that has been authorized. So we are in those processes as well. And in these countries, the numbers are always very big. So we have good hopes that we're getting a fair share of that as well. So those are the key drivers behind why we believe that the ambition we have of 1 billion in revenue and 15% in EBITDA are realistic ones.
Okay, thank you. Can you also explain what kind of investments have you made and how that support the business in reaching those targets?
Yeah, as I said, we see growth in the US actually is already materializing, which actually means that we need to dig holes in the ground and put up equipment. In 2023 alone, that was an investment of 60 million. So that's an important one. We invested in our software platform. We have 3 different platforms, Cilium, Pulse and Flux. In 2023 we invested 27 million there. And we are opening up in a new market for us, which is Ghana, and that was an investment of 10 million. So what we're doing is investing for future growth, and to quite a lot of money overall, I would say.
Jumping over to the Q4, which at least in my view was very solid. Growth was, again, relative to history, very strong, and a clear acceleration for what we've seen in the previous quarters. Again, which were the main drivers of this, and how do you see that going forward?
A key driver for Q4 was obviously the delivery of the final 25% of the contract with Saudi Arabia. We managed to deliver all of that, and so that's the key driver actually for the growth in Q4.
Your TRaaS revenues, which is very important, you focus on that, and that's part of your financial targets, went down year-on-year relative to total revenues, but it's still a very positive development in absolute terms. Can you explain a little bit what was the reason behind the lower share of TRaaS revenues?
The lower share is of course relative to the amount of sales we did on the system sales. So we had a lot of system sales revenue coming through. So and the TRaaS sales obviously in the balance was a little bit lower there, but we're still growing there. So we have solid growth on the TRaaS business. It's a strategic area for us. TRaaS is recurring revenue, so that's why we focus on it. And it's grown 16%, if I'm not wrong, over the years. So really solid growth there as well.
So it's just a temporary mix effect, you would say?
It's a mix. It's a mix. Yeah.
Okay. I think it's an interesting point is that you were growing 26% year on year for the full year, so taking out the full 2023. But your operating costs were actually growing much less. Do you think you have reached a level now where you can grow more with scale so that your revenues can increase further than your cost base?
Well, absolutely. You need a certain development organization to meet the requirements for system sales. On the TRaaS business, it's more relative to the revenue growth, and we're also investing still in our sales and demand creation, I call it, in the United States. So we will see a little bump up going forward, but it definitely is flattening out overall in terms of what we had before. So yes, we invested before, it drove up the revenue, and now we're flattening out, so you can expect the revenue or the profitability going forward to benefit from that.
Thank you. And final question, you have the two big contracts in Sweden and Netherlands, of course, in particular Swedish contracts is of quite an interesting local market. Can you just explain a bit what's going on in these two important areas right now, and what you see going forward?
Well, first of all, we're absolutely proud we won that contract of 850 million Swedish kronor from Trafikverket. It's the largest contract in the whole industry, so it's good we win it. It's also a foundation for our business for the next 12 years, because that's the way to look at that contract. And we are now in a finalization phase with the government and starting the first rollouts of what we call the golden sample and those kinds of things to get it formally approved before we start the installations. And the installations will take place in the first couple of years of the contract, and then we go to maintenance mode. That's on the Swedish one. The Dutch contract is 400 million, and that's there we already have started the first deliveries of the systems. It's a contract over a 6 years period, so and the government is actually pushing us to get the installations done within 2025. So that's a little bit how to look at these two large contracts. But the most important comment here is that these are the solid contracts under our home market, Sweden and the Netherlands, which will give us a lot of stability for the next 6 to 12 years. So truly very happy with that.
Ivo, that will conclude the report interview of today. Many thanks for coming here, and great to follow your journey going forward.
Thank you, Örjan.
Tack alla ni som tittade på dagens intervju med Sensys Gatso.